What actually brought you into politics? Because politics is murky by the best of definitions, and looking at you, one doesn't imagine that you can swim those murky waters.
You see, politics has become this game where if I don't know you, if you're not my Sangh, if you're not my party, I will not help you. And this is what I have encountered in my own life, and I know that this is thousands, lakhs of people also, they encounter the same thing.
I think the role of the MLA is to make the system work,
Yes.
is to make the health system deliver. Why is it that people are not demanding that, but they're demanding money instead? It becomes very personal.
No MLA can just handle everybody's needs. No MLA. And so, in fact, if they had just been doing their job, which is to regulate, which is to legislate, if they had been doing their job, all these things would have been fixed.
Hello viewers, in Upfront today we have with us a very interesting personality, a young man, Avner Pariat, who has started a political party called the New Dawn. I'm not sure if it's registered yet, but probably it's in the process of being registered. He is planning to contest the coming elections from Shillong East constituency. He has a formidable rival in Ampareen Lingdo, and of course another co-contestant, Manuel Badwar, who comes with a very, very impressive CV as well. I was looking at your CV and I realized that you've done part of your education in Australia. You've studied liberal arts at Deacon's University in Melbourne. You could have got yourself a job outside, and you could have perhaps earned much more than what you're doing today. So what is it that brought you back home?
Thank you, and with my best regards to all the viewers who are watching this. To answer your question, it's sometimes, as a human being, sometimes one thinks, why did I come back actually? Because since I came back, I have seen no growth. I have seen
and I think it's important to answer that question very, very carefully.
Yeah. So the reason I came back also, obviously I was working outside and I was interested in, I was interested in doing what I was doing. Like it wasn't something that was boring. It was interesting. I came from an advertising background, so it was something interesting that I thought I could grow in. The reason I came back though was that there was something inside me, I always felt very empty when I was outside, and this is true even for cities within India. There was something that was calling me. I felt like, I had to do something, because I was not interested just in making money, which is mostly the reason why people work in various jobs, especially in the corporate sector. But I was interested in actually fulfilling something which I felt was calling me. And this land...
You saw some kind of a void.
Yeah, I saw not just in terms of development, I saw that, the land itself is my land, it's my home. Yes. I can't call Australia my home. I can't call Delhi my home. I can make a small little apartment comfortable, but it's not my home. I don't feel like, at ease. I always feel like I'm somebody new. I wasn't born there. I didn't grow up there. So I think that was what made me start to think differently. And then I even came back. I was working outside for a bit, but even then, I was just not fulfilled.
So what drives you, especially now, because I know that you were also into some entrepreneurship when you came back. Did that work or didn't work, and what actually brought you into politics? Because politics is murky by the best of definitions, and looking at you, one doesn't imagine that you can swim those murky waters. So how do you plan to do that? How do you plan to negotiate that?
So there's two things here, one part is what you're asking about doing when I came back. What was I up to? Yes, I was busy trying to start various enterprises. And then that was one of the reasons that made me think about politics. Why? Because you see, politics has become this game where if I don't know you, if you're not my Seng, if you're not my party, I will not help you. And this is what I have encountered in my own life. And I know that this is thousands, lakhs of people also, they encounter the same thing. Because we have seen, like, at least I have seen in my own life, in the last 10 years or so, whatever I tried to do, out of 100%, I think maybe 10% went anywhere. And I realized that after some time, initially I blamed myself. I said, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I couldn't convince them.
Are you saying that the system doesn't work for you?
It doesn't work for anyone. I think not just for me, but for us young people, it doesn't work. Our organization is a youth group. We're a youth party. We want to become Meghalaya's first youth party. And we know why we're doing this, because a lot of young people they're excited. They want to do new things. They want to try different things. But the system just totally disregards them. And one of the biggest problems really has been corruption, has been nepotism, that unless you know someone, you can't start anything, you can't do anything here.
So, New Dawn, are you putting up candidates in all 60 constituencies, which is a huge challenge, or how many of those?
So right now we have associates who we're working with. There are about 3 of us right now, but I am hoping to get a few more on board. They are not technically with us because again they didn't go through the whole procedure, but we work with each other. We are giving them strategies, we're helping them refine their pitch.
Are you sure that they're going to stick on to New Dawn, or do you think at some point, the lure for money will be so great that they will jump parties?
See, this is why this is interesting, because there is one thing which we have pushed and which we are making sure that everybody pushes, and that is this idea that you have to be accountable. So every 3 months, this idea which we are pushing now is that every 3 months we want constituency clinics, which are these public meetings where you give report cards to the people, right?
Okay.
That is very, very important.
Where did you get this idea from about constituency clinics?
It's been around for a very long time.
Okay.
In Australia as well, I saw that.
So that is something you're bringing from Australia?
Yeah, I mean, not just there, I mean in the UK as well, it was there.
Okay.
And I think that,
I think you have to tell us some more about that, because that is the key.
Right. Basically, constituency clinics are public meetings where the MLAs have to come to the public and give their report cards. What have they been up to the past 3 months? What do they want to bring in the assembly? If we are having assembly meetings every few months, 3 months, usually every 3 months, we should also be accountable to the people who we are supposed to serve.
Yes.
And so this is one way that you can actually counter. See, how we can't help people jumping boat, jumping ship. Even I can't.
Yes.
But we can counter what becomes of them, what they're up to. If they're jumping ship just to make themselves richer, this is one way to counter that. Because they have shown that this has been seen that whenever you meet regularly with your MLAs, your MPs, corruption goes down, nepotism goes down, because you can confront them, you can meet them.
This is not happening at the moment.
Yes, it's
so
not.
Sometimes you wonder where the MLAs are getting their list of to-dos from, because definitely you need feedback from the public as to what is the public need. At the moment, MLAs are seen to be serving private needs. Yesterday I was talking to someone, and every other person you talk to just feels that politics is just impossible, and yet they want to be there. Impossible because there's too much demand on them for resources, and those resources are limited. And if they do not put their hands in the till, they're not going to be able to serve their constituents. So what do you have to say about that?
There is no party right now, and I mean this quite I'm painting a broad picture. There's no party really that's taking seriously the need for private sector. You see why I say this? I've seen that nowadays you might be ill, your family members might be ill, you're poor, and eventually you end up in the MLA or MP's hands, or you go and please can you help us with money. And then the fundamental root is that there's so much poverty that these people have to ask for that money, because number one, nobody has regulated the private hospitals. There's too much, there's too little income floating around. So these people don't have that type of money. And when they don't have that type of money, they end up going to people who do have money. That is how they are captured.
So this
when it comes to
there's a catch here.
Yeah.
There's a catch here because I think the role of the MLA is to make the system work,
Yes.
is to make the health system deliver. Why is it that people are not demanding that, but they're demanding money instead? It becomes very personal.
It's a very flawed kind of approach, right? Actually, the MLA's job is to fix that system so that they themselves have less tension.
Yes.
But in fact, here, I have seen the exact opposite, and it's not sustainable. No MLA can just handle everybody's needs. No MLA. And so, in fact, if they had just been doing their job, which is to regulate, which is to legislate, if they had been doing their job, all these things would have been fixed. So why we are talking about private sector? We're very strong into private sector here. We have seen that at least with private sector, people get to stand on their own 2 feet, then they will escape the clutches of these guys as well. And that's what we're saying, because once people are out of poverty, once they're able to be, even if they're earning a little bit of money, if it's your
Get
if
them
it's
out of
your
the trap.
own,
Get them out of the poverty trap.
Exactly. If it's your own money that you're earning there, you have that pride. You can say no to your MLAs. Right now, nobody can say no.
It's patronage democracy
Exactly.
at its worst.
It's worse. So that is why I say that private sector is so important to be thought of in a very serious way. Here, it's not just 1-2 people becoming rich. We have to think about employment benefits, about superannuation. All these things have to be thought of. If the MLAs cannot think about those things, then you should remove them.
So, coming back to the state of Meghalaya, you've seen corruption almost every second day. There's some scam or the other erupting. But you have been very silent on that. We haven't seen or heard you in the media. I mean, it's almost as if you don't exist vis-a-vis these scams. What do you have to say about that?
Oh, but on a door-to-door basis, I talk about them all the time. It's just that, of course, I could always take a...
No, don't you think you need to be
a public
more
stand
upfront in the media?
Of course, that is also there, definitely. But definitely, I have always been talking about corruption. Every house I go to, I talk about it, and I try to make sure that they realize how it touches their lives. For example, like that's one example of being tied up to an MLA through these other ways. Corruption is rampant. I always talk about the Sobhagya scam, and I always talk about the rice scam, the PDS scam, no matter which house I go to, because people feel that. They know that this is a very wrong thing, and they just need more voices coming out. See, the problem is what I've seen, at least this is the general opinion, I think, that you can say a lot of things, and of course, nobody will say that they're for corruption, even the people who are corrupt. But what ends up happening is that people feel very confused that there's so many voices, everybody is saying anti-corruption, but then nobody is really tackling it in a very real way.
Yes, because there isn't any anti-corruption group.
Yes, yes, this would be important.
We used to have People's Rally Against Corruption at one time. Now that has disintegrated. In Meghalaya, for instance, we do not even have an environmental group. So if somebody wants to come here and start some work on environment, you don't have that group.
I think also because why, from our side, at least I think from our organization's perspective, we are really trying to train people about this, because it's very easy to have a one-off rally and a meeting, right? But it's important to actually have that long-term plan. To train people. So that's what we have decided to do in the constituency in Nong Thamai as well, and other areas where we have friends. We want to train the next generation. See, it doesn't matter. Ultimately, even if they jump ship, at least the standard of politics should go up.
Provided that party allows them that space, which it may not. Now, over several months now, you have been walking the streets. Going on door-to-door campaigns, visited homes. I think nothing can be more upfront than that. And you've done it much before the others.
Yes.
So what are some of the key concerns you've heard with your own ears from people's homes?
Well, I think the major concern is obviously, which all the political parties, they will talk about, but I don't know how they will fix it. But the main concern is unemployment and how that is leading to depression, that's leading to alcoholism, that's leading to drug abuse.
But excuse me.
Yeah.
In August,
Yeah.
Meghalaya was shown as having the least unemployment.
That I think
1%.
that's fudged up.
So, I mean, how do they come up with such figures?
No, those are figures which, number one, Meghalaya doesn't have any data.
Yes.
Right? There's whatever data is available is heavily manipulated.
Yes.
And they don't have any modern census taking, survey taking.
Yeah, they're very
and
weak with
they're
data.
very weak with data. This has all been, and probably what we think is that they're hiding behind other figures, like because that's an overall percentage. They're hiding probably behind rural employment or whatever, because they're people who are farmers are considered employed and so on and so forth. But we should also look at other parameters, not just at employment, but also the income. What George Lingdo had talked about, the shrinking of the income. It's true. Now my question to them is also, how will they fix it?
Yes.
But these are important things that actually will the state is really sinking. There is no doubt about that. I mean, every day when I go on these house visits, I see it. People really have
so let's hear from you, what are the main concerns? 1, 2, 3.
Main concern, obviously, unemployment.
Okay.
That's very major concern that people are talking about, especially amongst the young. And that's one. Number two, what we have heard is also about, generally people are very worried about drugs and alcohol abuse. I think alcohol abuse, to be honest, is much worse than drugs, but that's my opinion, because I've seen it affecting more people than drugs. And then thirdly, just in general, the total, they're dumbfounded as to why these small things, like even providing trash bins, street lights, why these things are not even being looked at. I mean, you haven't, and this I mean specifically in our constituency, you're not doing your job as a legislator. You're not writing bills, which is your job. And at the same time, you can't even provide light, water, these small things.
See, when we say looking after a constituency, doesn't it mean minor repairs, major repairs of roads? You must have seen that road leading to one of those parking lots under a mall. That road is awful in Lightumkra. It's been lying there for months together or years.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that a matter of concern?
It is. It is a big matter of concern, and I honestly don't know what is happening there, because I have asked some friends who are engineers. It shouldn't cost that much.
You can see the drains and the water pipes together there.
Yeah, and also we've heard from local residents in that area. It's a marketplace. They're sweet. They know that we will have to dump somewhere, but that's not how you dump things. Like put up a dumpster or something like that. This is what we are hoping municipal will move around to doing. Put up a dumpster, have things coming in there, put in your stuff, then because that protects it from animals, from people who burn stuff.
Yes.
But these are small things that could be fixed. But
now let me come to education, because I think that is a great concern. So the homes that you visited, how are the children faring in education? Are there dropouts? Are they all in school? If in school, do the parents express that it's very difficult to manage?
Yeah. Generally, I would not say that. Okay, like the truth is that a lot of people, a lot of very poor households also, they have at least one person who has gone to college. Okay, now they've struggled to put him through college. That is definitely there. So, but they struggle to put him to college with the hope that him or her would be able to kind of raise the fortunes of the family
raise the standard
in general,
of living.
right? Now the sad truth is that with the current pay packages, it's not going to be feasible. But whatever, I mean, it's still somehow, it's something.
Does the constituency have pockets of poverty?
Oh yes, it has.
Which are those?
Well, I have to be very clear, like various parts of Malki, Demsenyong, various parts of Demsenyong. There are certain households which are scattered even in Lamkra. I would not say Lamkra is rich at all. I mean, I think that it has just some real estate along the main road, but that's about it. So there are little pockets all over, but concentrations would have to be like places like Demsenyong, places like some places in Malki, and that is the truth. I mean, we can't deny that, and we can't run away from it.
Okay, let me take this discussion to the level of the state, because I think a legislator should be thinking of the state more.
Exactly.
And the constituency will be dealt with by the different departments if you know how to chase those departments.
Exactly.
But at the level of the state, we've just seen a vision paper coming out. And that vision paper has been prepared by the NIPIP, National Institute of Public Finance, Hyderabad. Nobody knows who has been consulted, how they got that roadmap.
Yeah.
So this has been Meghalaya's eternal problem, that you depend so much on consultants. So much so, people have coined the word consultocracy. So what do you have to say about this? Why are we so poor in our capacities to think that we have to get people from outside to think for us?
I think it's not really about that. No? The main issue here is that they need to spend the money. Consultants follow the money. They followed the money with the ADB loan. But they follow the money now with the World Bank.
So you can pay people here also?
Yes, but never to that quanta. No,
okay.
That quanta. These are firm, because you have to see if somebody is getting paid 1 crore per month, they have to be at a very high level. I mean, even if they're not good, they have to have a brand name like Ernst & Young, KPMG, so on and so forth. They have to have a very well-known name. So then they can justify asking for such an amount. But this is the failure here, that actually that money could have been used for other things.
Yes, you could plan with people.
Yes.
See, what is not happening today here in Meghalaya is that the planning is so top down. Most of the bureaucrats sitting in the secretariat don't really know what's happening down there.
They don't know. Yeah.
And yet, you're pushing policies, some of which may be anathema to people who are at the receiving end. So, how do you think you can tackle that at some point, you and your group, I mean?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of public outrage against that. That is something that is already there. Now, I think that we need to fill in the vacuum again. Eventually, these guys will have to budge. Now, I don't have a problem if you have a firm, and it's a big firm, and you have 2-3 guys who are from outside, and they are like
use local
crucial.
resources.
They're crucial with let's say finance or this and that. But I do have a big problem when you bring in an entire team, and the locals are just for
being questioned.
Is a visibility, that
so
okay, there are some tribals here.
So much so, people have now started getting disgusted because there's so many people doing surveys of different kinds that they even tell lies, because they're so angry.
True.
And therefore, we are not going to get the desired outcomes from all those surveys. Yeah. Okay. Now, why Shillong East? You have been born and brought up in Meghalaya. People know you there, and in fact, people I've met have said to me, why did he choose that constituency and why not the home constituency?
Yeah.
So why?
Yeah. I was born in number one, I was born in Nazareth, in Lamkra. My family is a pretty old family in Lamkra. My father's side of the family. My grandfather was a doctor there, Dr. Tubal Lingdo. And my father, unfortunately, he passed away when I was very young. But otherwise, I've always been born and I was raised in Lamkra, to be honest. I mean, I did my schooling in Edmonds. I always felt more at home in Limekra.
Okay.
I would sit there till like 10 o'clock or something when I was in college. You know, back then there was no Rapido or whatever. Somehow I had to find my way back home. I was always there because, you know, at the end of the day, my family is also there, my cousins, my upbringing was also very much clearly with that school, with that institution. So yes, I mean, I had a home in Meghalaya, but unfortunately it was not like that I was always connected. You know, like I know Limekra much more, I would say, than I do Meghalaya.
Okay.
And Meghalaya is a very vast constituency. For us to campaign there without any money is really, it would not have made any sense.
Okay.
I'm not saying that now so we don't need money.
So you agree that money is an important political resource?
It is, but not
and
to the extent.
How is that money going to come for you?
So we're doing crowdfunding. This is one innovation which I think a few other groups are also doing, and we need to improve more and more on that front. We will be releasing a statement, I hope your paper will carry it, about where we're getting our money from. We want this to become like an example for other groups also, other young people who are starting out in politics, that you don't really need to be associated only with these big parties, because they have been bought and sold a long time ago. Right? They have been bought and sold a long time ago. All of them are, wait, I just have this thing, you know, all of them are basically crorepattis, and you know, like which crorepatti, which millionaire will care about Shillong?
This is being very personal, Avner, because these are the people you know.
Yeah.
But there are many.
There's so many. There
are many who are richer than these two.
Yeah. But those guys, many of them are not even in politics. They control things behind the scenes.
They are in politics.
Right.
They're very much in politics, and you know many of them.
Yeah, you're right. We should extend this to other. This is just a picture.
Okay.
You need not put the picture there also.
Yes, that's fair. That's fair.
But you know, which millionaires will care about us? You can have a look at that. How many millionaires will care about us? See, their main agenda has always been about business, and they're using public office to become richer.
Yes.
That is why we need to be transparent. We need to show where our money is coming from. That's what we are doing. And I hope other groups also, other small alternative parties can also do the same.
Yes.
Because it is important. And this I think is the way forward into the future.
Okay. Let me come to a very, very important critical question for the state, which is, you know, has been raised by several parties and is still being raised today, which is the inner line permit. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, do we really need the inner line permit? Is that just a political bandwagon, or are people really serious about it? And how is it going to solve our problems?
I don't know how it will solve our problems, to be very honest. I've never had a thoroughly satisfying answer about how these things, and not just ILP, I mean other things as well, how they would solve. I think, look, the main issue here is not, for me personally, I am concerned about improving the lives of the constituency.
Yes.
Now, this is not a demand in our constituency, right? And I cannot really, as a representative, as a would-be representative, I cannot have a say on this if the people themselves also are not demanding
but would you have the courage of conviction if suppose there is a demand from a section in your constituency? Would you sort of apply, I mean, you know, bow down to their demands, or will you stand up and say, no, this is not in the greater good of the state?
Honestly, as I was saying, I've never found a compelling answer to this. So I've always asked people, like, give us a proper kind of a plan. How will this resolve?
Yes.
See, the issue has always been this: non-tribals are taking our jobs.
Yes.
This is the complaint. Now, will having a mechanism like that resolve that problem? What is the experience of Nagaland? In Nagaland, non-tribals are still there.
Yes.
They go and pay money and it's done.
Sure.
Now other places are saying that they want to remove the ILP. Places like Arunachal and so on and so forth. They are saying we want to remove the ILP, right? So these are interesting developments that we can't ignore. Now, on that front, talking about this whole thing about ILP, I've always asked people, what is happening? Why this thing? This has never been answered satisfactorily. See, ILP was a mechanism much like Trump's wall to keep out immigrants. It never did. Okay? Why? Because ultimately, at the end of the day, you can't stop that.
Yes.
The only way you can stop that is by empowering your own local people. I always tell my friends in the right-wing organizations, I always tell them, look, I don't want to talk about Dakhars, about non-tribals. I want to talk about Khasis. How can we empower them? How can we strengthen them? I always tell them, like, the amount of time you've devoted to talking and thinking about Dakhars,
yes, yes.
you could have spent on thinking about how to empower our people.
It's become an alibi,
It's become a big kind of, but I think it's losing steam, I'll tell you honestly, like, because people now,
it's become
they want
a sort of a leviathan that you push, especially during election times.
Yes. See, here we don't have Muslim-Hindu riots.
Yes.
So what will we do? We'll push these things. They were trying recently before, but then a few of them capitulated. They didn't want to move anymore, but they were trying to bring it up again, and that was so strategically placed just before elections.
Yes.
But then I think there was a kind of a dissensus amongst them.
Now let's come to railways. This has been hanging fire since 1972. There are people who believe that railways are important, and I've spoken to a lot of Khasi businessmen. They said the government never consults us when it comes to railways.
Yes.
So how long can we keep development at bay? Because you are sending products from here and you're paying a heavy price.
Yes.
You're bringing products from outside also at a heavy price. Railways would have, subsidized a lot.
This is also one of those things, railways, not that I'm against it more, but it's also one of these things that now the other side is saying that railways is a good thing. For example, like Khasi businessmen.
Yes.
Now, there are reasons why transportation is so expensive, right? And I don't know if railways is the way to solve that. I'm not saying I'm against it. It's just an interesting kind of dilemma here. It's the other side of the, there's always a vested interest.
Yes, there is.
See, look, how expensive is it to transport goods from Beltola to, let's say, Gari Khana here? It can't be that expensive. I mean, like, how much fuel would you consume on that 100-kilometer stretch? But the real issue is the massive corruption, the massive bribe taking along that route, which could be fixed.
Yes.
I think that is more likely to be fixed than getting a railroad here. But they will not do that because every few kilometers there is a huge amount of taxation that's put on these truckers. And this is where the logistics companies, and this is where the owners of these transport companies, they should also speak. Unfortunately, most of them are non-tribals, so they end up keeping shut. But they should also speak, because this is important. We also, the public, needs to know about these things.
Yes.
And the more it's out there in the open, I think the more condemnation will happen, more things will change. I see that clearing up the bribery and the bribe taking from the road is much easier to do than the railroad.
It is so embedded in the system.
Yeah.
How do you even try to do that?
It can be done. I think what you really need, number one of the solutions, I think, is to kind of ensure that there is a respect for the law, because they're never going to respect the law if they see policemen taking bribes, which we see every time on social media.
You know about the illegal transportation of coal.
Yeah.
In fact, I want to come to that. Don't you think, as a young person who speaks up and who speaks what has to be spoken, don't you think it's high time we legalize coal mining and get the revenue that we need to get?
I think that is one way, definitely. I also believe in a future beyond coal, and I think that is something we all need to think very seriously about, because coal mining doesn't benefit the majority of the state.
Avner, we know that this land is being exploited like nothing. We know that 300 trucks of boulders are going to Bangladesh every day.
Yes.
We also know an equal amount of trucks are taking limestone to Bangladesh. Then we are doing sand mining, which is destroying our rivers. And the latest statistics tell us that the rivers of Meghalaya are the most polluted.
Yeah.
I mean, where do we begin?
I think it all begins with, again, I want to take out something. I think we all need to start thinking about this. It's very important.
No, can't we have both?
Of course you can, but what has become more important in our society is the political solutions, not the economic solutions, which are more important actually, because they are the underlying engine that pushes our society forward. We, from our organization, we are very lucky to have some economists, some people from finance. We are interested in helping to resolve these things. There is so much leakage, so much inefficiency in our system right now. Because, as you said correctly, the people who do the planning are only sitting in the secretariat. They have no idea what's really happening on the ground. For them, as long as a nice little report comes in, they're happy. And but then that doesn't mean that anything good has actually happened. What you're talking about, all these mining, extractive industries, I really believe we have a future beyond that, which is actually much more profitable also. I really do.
Provided there's a plan.
Yes,
provided
exactly.
there's a vision.
Exactly.
We do not have an economic vision. We never had it.
We never had it.
And we don't seem to want to have it for some reason.
I was talking with this old gentleman in Lamkhara recently. He was also an economist, and he was very happy that I started talking about economic planning. And he said, I have not heard a single MLA or MDC talk about economic planning. And I said, yes, sir, it's the most important thing.
No, but doesn't education come in there? Isn't it because, people who've never read economics, understood economics, except buying and selling and profit. So those sort of people are in the assembly. Or have been. I think, I also feel that it's not that complicated. I mean, forget about the econometrics, the mathematical stuff of it. That's fine. But and that's needed, but that's not what powers our life. Yours and mine. That's more statistics.
So that's not what powers your life and mine. We need to start thinking very seriously about these things. I realize a lot of people here are very chaotic. Like a lot of our MLAs are very chaotic. What you're talking about, vision comes out of certain ideas, step by step, and then how you get to that point. Here, it's like something blows up and then they all rush into it. And they all have to have a say. They all have to have a stand, which may or may not. To give you an example, just a little bit.
Firefighting. Everything is firefighting.
Firefighting. I'll give you a small example, which has now blown up. Casino, this whole casino thing. I want to talk about this. This whole casino thing comes out of one clear problem, that we have very little revenue. Okay? Now how they've decided to resolve this is casino, my goodness, that is their solution. Okay? Now the opposition who are opposing the casino, I'm not talking about this pressure groups.
One more thing, when we come to the casino, have they envisaged what revenue is going to come in?
Yes. Yeah. They said about 500 crores or something, right? They've said that. But again, knowing them, knowing their leakages and the bribery and this and that, I don't know. But let's give them benefit of the doubt. They say that 500 crores they'll retrieve through casinos, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Now the opposition TMC, now I have to point finger at them. They have come in, they're opposing it. What is your solution to revenue deficit?
Exactly.
What is your solution to revenue deficit? You can't come in here and just say, no, casinos will destroy our way of life. Okay, they probably will, and I'm very sure they will, and I'm against the casino myself. But you, as the opposition, as the powerful, as a powerful opposition,
alternative,
you have to give an answer. You have to give a solution, and this is where we are lacking this type of real democratic process. Why outside they have cabinet, they have shadow cabinet. If you are proposing this, I am also seeing the same problem, but I'm proposing this solution. Here we don't think like that. Here the problem is, okay, I think that this, I got quite annoyed with these TMC youth guys when they came out and did hunger strike. Number one, it was such a sad farce to do hunger strike in front of MPSC. Here I am going to door and talking about private sector development. These guys, because they're told by their party,
Higher
I
ups,
guess,
yeah.
that they have to have the youth are being deprived of their future. No party, I'm pretty sure, whether it's TMC, Congress, whatever, no party will not employ those people if they had money. There's no money in the state, that's why they're not employing those people. Every day people write, oh, there are 3,000 jobs which are not being filled up.
Yes.
There's no money.
There's no money, yeah.
So how will your TMC fix that? Let's have an answer to that.
Well, they just want visibility.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
all. Everybody is looking at visibility.
I'm very annoyed, to be honest, with that type of thing. I think the majority of people are.
No, so the point is to engage with them.
Yes.
Engage
So
with
this
them.
is what I'm challenging them. I'm challenging them to give an answer to the revenue deficit problem. How would we resolve it?
Yeah. Thank you, Avner. It's been so interesting speaking to you, and I'm sure we could go on
Yes.
and on as we have done in the past.
We always do.
But time is, time doesn't permit us to go beyond a certain point.
Yeah.
So we wish you all the best.
Thank you
And
so much.
how I wish we could see young people like you
Yeah.
with a vision,
Yeah.
with the intellectual capacity to take on the system, to be standing in the house and to be in the opposition. Because if you're in the ruling party, your lips are sealed. So we wish you the very best, and we hope you get through, come what may.
Thank you so much. We will be working no matter what happens. Even after 2023, we've always told our friends in Nongthamai, in Lemkra, in Malki, we've always told them that, we'll be around, because we have to push the envelope. We have to make sure that, things happen, that there's growth.
Beyond politics.
Exactly.
Yeah. Or beyond the elections.
Beyond the elections.
So thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Wish you all the best.
Thanks.